Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So now that we are finished the first half of season 2 of Fear the Walking Dead, I thought that I'd do like an overview. Because I do reaction videos, I don't really have time to think about what has happened or what I've just seen before I say stuff. So I wanted to just kind of give a quick rundown on what's happened to all the characters so far and what I think is going on. So in season 2 we saw a lot of character development and a lot of like unexpected twists and turns. Okay, so at the start of the season, we're in a boat. We're in a boat on the ocean and apparently we're going to San Diego. But then that plan gets fucked out the window and instead we learn of Strand's plan. Strand is hell-bent on getting to this place and we later learn why. So we're all on the boat and then fucking pirates get on the boat. We see Alicia talking to her boyfriend. She's trying some kind of online dating on a radio. She's talking to this guy called Jack. Shit goes south and then he kind of says see you soon. That should have been a warning flag right there. I'd have been like, no, you won't be seeing me. No. Well, cut to the chase. Alicia's boyfriend Jack, it turns out to be a pirate with a bunch of bad pirates. They board the Abigail, they tie everyone up, they rob Travis and Alicia, and then the story becomes like, oh, we have to get them back. So Madison goes to land with a zombified Jesse McCartney. He walked straight out of Hannah Montana and onto the Abigail. So he then dies and is a zombie. But Madison has to use him as a trading chip or a bargaining chip, so they put a bag over his head and pretend that he's still alive. At that point I was like, is this Walker going to make any Walkerly sounds? He didn't. He stood there like a good boy with the bag over his head until the time was right. Anyway, Madison got Travis back and then Alicia slides down the side of the ship that she was being held captive in. They're pirates, right? But their boat isn't even in the fucking water. Their boat is in a dry dock. What kind of pirates are they? Land pirates? We have the scene where Strand cuts loose the two survivors, Alex and the other guy. These two were like stranded at sea. They wanted to get on board the ship. Everyone was like, nah, you can't do that. So they tie them onto the back of the Abigail, but Strand decides even that is not acceptable. So he cuts the rope and off they drift into the night. So that's what happened in the first few episodes. Then of course they finally get to land. Strand leads them all to the safe place that he had been planning all along. Turns out that his boyfriend Thomas is waiting for him there. Now, to get into this safe place, there's like people patrolling the borders and you have to pay for each person that goes through. That's why Strand was so strict on how many people were on board the ship, because he didn't have the money for them. Those guards were not any kind of a problem. Strand like shot them both and he was like, yeah, they're dead, man, let's go. So that kind of made all the strictness of boarding the Abigail pointless, because they could have taken on Alex and the other fella and they would have gotten in. So they get into this place. Poor Strand finds out that his lover has been bitten. That was such a heartbreaking scene. We find out that Celia likes to poison people and then keep their reanimated corpses in a cage. Celia poisoned a full church full of poor people. The traitors had no idea what was coming to them. Chris loses the plot and fucking tries something with a knife. One of the last scenes that we see is Travis has gone off with Chris because Chris has gone mad. Travis is like, oh, I need to fix this. Nick has decided, fuck this, I'm going to become Lord of the Walkers, goodbye everybody. Madison lets him go. Daniel, at this point, is just standing over a line of fire. Daniel has just succeeded in setting fire to his dead wife's spirit and also all of Celia's old walkers. Celia was locked into the cage by Madison. So the place is on fire, everybody has split up and it was one hell of a season finale. So I want to talk a bit about the characters. So Madison, for me, I never really liked her. I mean, she was a strong woman, she was a very smart woman, but I didn't like the way she babied her children. And people have been saying to me, you're questioning a mother for babying her children? They're not kids. Nick is like, what, 18, 19, in and around that age. Same goes for Alicia. They don't need to be babied. Nick has proven that he's smart, he can go off by himself. He has a thing about Walker blood. You know, like everyone's been saying, he's probably a whisperer in training. He can handle himself. Madison struck up a bit of a friendship with Strand. We saw her pull off that exchange with Walker Reed very smartly. Still shocked that the Walker didn't make any Walkerly noises. But then the last scene that we see, she lets Nick go. She decides, right now, this very minute, I'm gonna let him fly the coop. Nick was covered in Walker guts, yeah, after fucking roaming God knows where after having that talk with Travis that he lied to Madison about. And he says to her, "Where's Celia? She was right about us. I'm off to become one with the walkers." That's the time that Madison decides it's a good time to let your son mature. That was the one time that Nick needed a mother to tell him to cop the fuck on. But I've grown to like Madison's character. I mean, she's making such weird decisions at this point that she's actually interesting me. I'm like, alright, maybe there's method to this woman's madness. I can't wait to see her character development. I can't wait to see her relationship with Strand, her relationship with Alicia as well. She didn't bother looking for Daniel. She kind of looked in and was like, "Daniel, he's gone, fuck him." With Travis, Nick was like, "I couldn't find him," and she was just like, "Yeah, that's fine, get in the car, we gotta go." So I think Madison is a very family orientated person, but I think that she shuts down at points to try to focus on the task at hand. I can't wait to see her thought process, how she develops as we move further into season 2. Strand is another one that I grew to love. I didn't like Strand because he was so strict. He was like, "Not running on my boat. It's my goddamn boat. They're not getting on my boat." But then we learned that all he wants is to get back to his boyfriend, and then his boyfriend dies, and his boyfriend's mother tries to convince him to eat this poisoned communion, and then gets rightly pissed off when Strand doesn't eat the communion and instead shoots his boyfriend so he does not come back. So poor Strand has been through an awful lot this season, but I think in the last episode when Strand got banished and he was like waving at Alicia, oh man, that scene got to me so bad. And then I thought, well, Strand is leaving. Fuck this, I liked him. But he didn't leave. When Madison and Alicia come running out with Ophelia as well. Sorry, I forgot about Ophelia. When they come running out, Strand comes up in like a truck. He didn't leave them. Strand stuck around to save them, which I thought was so lovely. So I think Strand now has seen that this group kind of needs him and he needs this group too, that they've been through so much together that they trust each other, that there is safety in numbers. I think Strand has seen that. I can't wait to see how Strand's relationship develops with Madison, because they've become a very unlikely pairing, the two of them, and I can't wait to see how Strand deals with the death of Thomas and that his whole plan of getting to the safe place and stuff, his whole plan is gone now. That was his plan, that was it, and it's gone. So I can't wait to see how he deals with the aftermath of that. Poor Daniel. I can't believe that his dead wife was following him around the place. And then we see the flashbacks that he had from when he was a child of his first kill. We see him go a little bit mad. I mean, he's having these weird dreams about Ophelia peeling off her face. We see him lose it for a minute, he does. But the end, when he goes into where the walkers are kept, when he goes in to burn Celia's walkers, that was a very confusing scene because he set fire and it was like a line of fire and he was standing with one foot on either side of it. So personally, I don't think he wanted to die, and I don't think that he did die. I think he stood there, watched them burn as like closure because his wife was there and all that. So I think he just kind of watched for as long as he could and then he left. Because if he wanted to die, he would have ran into the walkers and hugged them in the fire, hugged his dead spirit wife as they went up in flames. I can't wait to see how Ophelia handles all of this because she's had hardly any screen time. She's been a very background character. She's had hardly any lines. I want to learn more about her backstory, about where she came from and stuff. And now that Daniel is kind of gone for a while, I'm hoping that we will get to see more of her. Chris as well was one of those kind of quiet characters that you thought was okay, but they're fucking not. It's the quiet ones you need to worry about. Chris went mad, you know, stood by while Madison was being attacked by a walker, didn't bother helping her. Then when confronted by Alicia, proceeded to go into their bedroom at night time and stand beside them with a knife. And then when they woke up pissed off, he was like, "What?" And he left. I mean, his mother died. He is young. He's not as well adapted to this world as Nick would be. So I think that going away by Travis is the best thing to do at this point. I think that Travis will be able to help him, talk to him, work things out, and I hope Chris can come back to being normal. Either that or he's gonna go full fucking psycho, which I guess would be interesting to see as well. Nick. I've liked Nick since episode 1. He's had such an interesting story for such a young character. I mean, the whole ex-drug addict thing, and then how fearless he was with the walkers, but then in later episodes, like in the finale that we saw recently, he's become too cocky, he's become too confident in his Lord of the Walker act. I think that could be his downfall. Somebody said it in the comments and I actually laughed at it. Like, what happens when it rains? Nick thinks he's the shit. He's like, yeah, no one can touch me. The walkers don't know I'm here. I'm face to face with them. Look at me. When it rains, he's going to get the shock of his life. when the walker guts melts off him and all the walkers are suddenly like, "Hey Nick!" But I've loved watching Nick so far as well. I think him leaving at the end of the season, mid-season finale, I think it was a long time coming. Because when he was a drug addict, he had that flighty tendency. He had the tendency to up and run and to leave because he couldn't deal with things head on, so his answer was to run away. And I think this is I think the situation that he's in at the moment is refreshing what had happened to him before. Because when he had the talk with Celia, where Celia was like, "They're not monsters, you see them differently like I do." I think Nick was thinking about drug addicts. I mean, people look at drug addicts in such a negative light, and there's kind of the attitude taken that, oh well, they can't be helped. And I think Nick was used to kind of seeing that because he was a drug addict, and seeing Celia care for these creatures that nobody else could care for, I think it struck something in Nick. And I think Nick could identify with the walkers, the whole kind of misunderstood thing. And he was used to being around people that were so kind of zonked off their face that being with the walkers offers almost like a safeness for him. Nobody will judge him, nobody will tell him what to do or how to act. I mean, they're all dead. So I think he feels safe once he's cloaked in the walker guts. Could he become a whisperer? I don't know, it seems likely. Who else is there? Did I talk about Alicia? I have a lot of feelings on Alicia. I never really liked her because I know she has a very strong character on the 100, but I don't watch the 100, so I can't pass comment on that. But like in Fear, she doesn't make good decisions. She's very angsty, she's very, riled up. I think she lets her emotions get the better of her at times. Like, she just trusted Jack and she was talking to him and she thought there'd be no consequence, and then when they were on top of the boat and she was about to leave with Madison and Travis, Chris said to her, like, "Come with me." She had a moment where she looked at him and it looked like she was debating it. And then you had that big dramatic end scene of that particular episode when she was staring back at him as they sped away. And it was like, Alicia, he fucking lied to you. And in later episodes, she's very much done with all of Chris's shit. It's understandable. I really hope that Alicia will grow into a stronger female character than she already is. I mean, I know that this group of survivors, they're much different to the group in The Walking Dead. They don't have the skill sets or the life experience or anything that Rick's group do. So it is a very different situation, and it is very early on in the apocalypse. I think it's because people have a problem with Fear the Walking Dead and with its characters, because we're 6 seasons in now to The Walking Dead. We've seen so much character development, we've seen so much badassery. We have seen all the baddest villains. We've seen high and low points for what it's like to survive in the apocalypse. We know kind of the tricks of the trade, so going back to the beginning with a new group that know very little and that are struggling to survive and that don't really have proper plans or proper experience, it's frustrating sometimes as a viewer because you'd feel like screaming at the telly and telling them what to do. So I think people just forget that it is a completely different situation, it's a completely different group. All that being said, I want to see Alicia grow the fuck up a little bit. So I think that's all of my thoughts so far. I don't think Celia died as well. When Madison locked her in and she went in, Celia seemed to accept death. She was like, "Oh, okay." We didn't see a body. I mean, I was watching when all the walkers were coming towards Daniel when he was going to set fire to them. I didn't see a walker, Celia, and I didn't see them eating Celia. So I'm guessing the little freaky bitch survived somehow. She could have like hid in a corner or something. And someone made a very good point as well, that when Daniel went in to set fire to them, he left the gate behind him open. So maybe Celia escaped that way. So I think she'll pop up again, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see what her views on walkers are now. But yeah, that's it so far. I'm really enjoying it now. I found it a bit hard to get into at first, but that mid-season finale was so good. It is really refreshing to see a new group in new circumstances deal with kind of similar situations. I do think that we'll see Alex and Jack pop up again. Jack strikes me as a very annoying, pushy fella, so I do think he'll try and find Alicia again. Alex, I think, will want revenge on Strand because she had that little chat with Travis, and Travis kind of told her that they had things in common, that he had lost his ex-wife or whatever. So I do think that she will turn up again, but this time she'll be going after Strand because Strand is the one that cut the rope. I think is that all I have to say? I know there's going to be things that I forgot to mention, and as soon as I turn off the camera and start editing, it's going to come back to me. I have a feeling we'll see Madison in a different light because now she won't have Nick to look after, and she won't have Travis to argue with. It'll just be her and Alicia. So I have a feeling we'll get to see Madison's true colours soon. I have a feeling Alicia, after everything that's happened and after her bad run-in with Jack, I have a feeling Alicia will kind of smarten up a little bit. I think Daniel's alive, I think Celia's alive. I think we're going to see Strand dealing with the aftermath of poor Thomas. I think Nick is going to go off by himself for a little while. I think he will be okay, like I don't think he'll die, but I do think he might fall in with the wrong group. I think Ophelia will come into her own a little bit. Now that she doesn't have Daniel kind of overbearingly fathering her, I think we'll get to see a lot more of her true personality come out. I think Chris will come back from being mad. Everyone's saying that he'll go loopy and kill Travis. I don't know, I don't think that'll happen. I think Travis will have a talk with him. And I think he'll be able to help him, or at least I hope he'll be able to help him. If not, then yeah, Chris probably will go mad and kill Travis. Travis so far as well, I mean, he's been doing his best. He's no Rick, but he has been doing his best, struggling between keeping Madison happy and keeping Chris happy. It's been very, very tough on him. So I think this time away from everything with Chris will be good for him. And I think him taking Chris away was one of the best things he could have done, because Chris was a danger to everybody and to himself. So I think he'll try and talk some sense into Chris before returning to the group. But I do hope and I do think that the whole group will reconnect sometime in the future. So I just thought I'd do this video just because when I do the reaction videos, I know that I blurt things out, and it is what I'm thinking at the time. But like upon reflecting and watching an episode back, or watching Talking Dead, or reading reviews and stuff, you connect a lot more dots in your head than you do when you're watching it. So I thought I'd let you guys know what I think now and where I think it could be headed. Hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you all soon.